Alright, so hey, what's up guys? This is Old Bones, and welcome to the Bones Brigade. Today I'm going to be talking about the two toxic rogue that I've come up with. I'd love for you guys to take it and try it out on your own, see how it works for you. I'm going to show you what I've done, and hopefully you guys will enjoy the build. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on it, and we'll see what happens toward the end. So the first thing I want to start with is we're going to go into attributes. All right, so basically what I did with the tomb, with all the attributes, the game, what I'm finding out is that you are rewarded by staying in one attribute. And therefore stacking whatever secondary you need in your gear or in gems. So with this build, I went with toughness and all resistance scores. It increases my health, and it makes for a pretty tanky tune. One of the problems that I was having as I was trying to develop this was trying to get him strong enough and fast enough to be able to go up against higher level tunes. And the best way to do that was to stack toughness. And we'll talk more about why we went with toughness as I get into the tree. You see 126 agility there. When I get into the gear, I'll explain about stacking the agility on the gear and the things that go along with the gear. And some of the things that I don't have that you will need for this build. Most of the time when I'm running, I run solo just for testing and stuff like that. And the magic find is much better in a 4-man group or a 3-man group. And it tends to work a lot better. So I haven't found everything I need for this guy, but I wanted to get this build put out. So we'll talk about that as we go. We'll show the details for it. Currently, he's doing 1286.7 with an attack speed of 30 and a crit chance of 15.8. That crit chance can be changed with the gems. The only reason I'm leaving it as low as it is because he's attacking fast enough, and with the toxins in the tree that I'll show you later on when we get to it, we're applying enough damage and enough toxins that I don't need to be a whole lot faster. I have got it all the way up to 17%, and it's a little bit better, but at 15%, I don't intend to attack through targets, so it makes it a little bit better for me. It could use a life leech, so if you had one or two pieces that had life leech on it as well, it wouldn't hurt nothing. And then the overall resistance, as you can see, are pretty good except for frost, but most of the time you're dodging that anyway, so you're not really worried about it. His overall health of 1882. I was trying to push it to 2k, but it was kind of tough to do. And as you can see, everything else is pretty doggone good. All the different things that I can apply. Have a resource pool of 1,000. My rage conversion is 7 per second. So I mean, he's actually doing really good. The only time that resource pool becomes an issue with this tune, as far as that, is if you're using Slayer's Fury. And Slayer's Fury converts your rage really fast, and you'll white block on the screen real quick, and then it's a little tough to pull it back. Unless you have a pretty decent attack speed, which I do. But yeah, that pretty much covers the attributes. Any questions that you may have, you can leave in the comments down below, and I'd be glad to hear everything that you got to say. The only thing that I do ask is that you're constructive when you make those comments, please. This is my second build that I've made, and I look forward to making more builds. So hopefully these will get better and better as they go, and I'll make better content for the wolcen community. Let's go ahead and move on to the tree. So this is what I did with the tree. after talking with several friends of mine that have tried this out before, a lot of them, what they did is they went to each node, and they behind each major node there's a 20 toughness or a 20 ferocity. As you can see, there's a 20 skill for everything. But it wasn't logical to go out there and just stack toughness and have nothing else to apply, unless you're doing like a physical damage with a dodge, which is what I'm thinking about doing next. If I don't do that, then the next rogue that I'm gonna try is going to be a rend weaken, and we're gonna see how that goes, because the weaken has 2 stacks here and then a 3rd stack on the outside here. So once you block, you get a free weaken, and then you can apply 2 more stacks, and then you can apply a bleed for better damage. But I'm going to get into that later, once we get into another build. But basically what I did is I tried to apply as much toughness as I could. I went down through the sentinel tree. Dodge is always good. If I'm not getting hit, I'm not taking damage. Again, toughness. Unfortunately, everything that's being made right now has to have Praetorian and Retaliator. There's just no way to get around it. You just can't create enough damage without that 3% damage physical resistance per. So every bit of resistance that you have gives you 3% damage buff, and without having that, tune just can't make it through any kind of content of any kind of high level. Hopefully when this 3rd wheel comes out, that'll change and it'll make things look a lot different. You may be able to stay away from Praetorian because you may have a class specific out here on this 3rd wheel, which would be really awesome. Praetorian would be really good, but I just hate the idea of having to use it because it limits me on how I can use the wheel and how I can apply things. But for right now, yeah, that's what we did so far. We came down through the sentinel tree, basically ran as fast as we could to Praetorian, and went to Retaliator. We went to plus one health regeneration. You don't really see it because it's so small, but that's what we had to do to get over to Assassin, which gives us 5 attack speed. One of the big ones for this build, Assassin, a Blessing of Jade Legion, 30% physical damage converted into toxic damage. So 30% of your overall physical damage that you're creating is converted into toxic damage. Why that's important is because I get 25% poison stack duration. So 25% of the time I can stack it and it'll last longer. When I do the play at the end of the video, you'll see that I can actually attack a target, walk away from it, attack another target, come back to it, and it's been taking damage the whole time. 15% toxic damage, so that's a direct damage that they're taking automatically, and then a 25% poison chance. Works kind of like crit chance, so you get a 25% chance to apply more poison each time you make an attack. And then I went out the other side, and for the soldier side, for plus 10 to toughness, plus 8 to toughness, plus 4 to health regeneration. Health regeneration is good. By the time you stack and get a total of 5% from soldier here and Praetorian here, 5%, you actually start to see it, and it becomes worthwhile. You get 15% max health here, and a total of 20% toughness here. Once you apply all that together, it actually works out real well, and it flows real well, and it feels really good. There's other stuff that you could do with it. You could add the 20% toughness like I was talking about, or plus 20 to toughness like I was talking about, but for right now, I'm trying to go class specific kind of stuff and just kind of make some decent builds that the community can help me work on, and that we can update and do some fun stuff for the wolcen community. And that pretty much covers the tree itself. All right, so now we're going to move on to the gear. The gear is kind of tough. I don't want to scare anybody off with the gear. In the beginning, when you're first playing it and you're first gearing it, you can run the depths fairly well. I would run it with groups before I try and run it solo, because it's a little tough to run solo until you get some somewhat decent gear on it. With all the toughness that we have stacked, we're looking for more attack speed. So basically what we're doing with our gear here is we're stacking agility on the gear. So every piece of gear that you can get, you want to have agility on and some type of attack speed if you can. And these are all pretty common pieces of gear here. The only thing that I haven't been able to find, I wanted to see if these cinquetas, and if somebody knows how to pronounce it, I'd be grateful, because I know I butcher it every time I say it. But if these are actually 3-socket instead of 2-socket, because the only ones that I've found, and I got, I don't know, probably 2 weeks in this tune now, and the only ones I've been able to find are 2-socket, not 3-socket. But yeah, if there's a 3-socket in there, you could go 2 material, and then put some critical strikes in there. I went with sacred damage on the white gems, and then attack critical hit chance for I believe it's the topaz. Again, trying to stack as much agility as you can for your attack speed overall, and then using ambers in these for percent material resistance score. And this actually feels really good. Now, the things that I'm missing that I wanted to talk to you about as far as gear. This tune actually has the potential to be a real beast, but like I said, because I farm solo and I don't get into the higher levels, or I don't have as good a magic find farming solo or testing solo, I haven't got to them yet. But once I do get them, I will do another upgrade on this build. But the gloves are called Ogren's Hearth, and they're a major boost, because you get like I believe it's 12 to 20 physical damage. You get an agility boost, and there's a bunch of other stuff. I have one on my ranger, and it was a major agility boost. So if you could actually get a set on there, this tune, that would just be incredible, for an incredible boost to this tune, and it would make it a lot more fun, and it has potential to go a lot higher. I have killed mobs with it in that +5, but it starts getting tough without having all the right gear for it. And then the shoulders that you're going to need are the Envoy of War, which are another agility stack and would give you more attack, more damages. Highly recommend using 3 crowns, simply because you get the dodge chance, the stamina, and the 22 agility. But again, that's up to you guys how you want to do it. The Saganaris, I've tried using. I can't think of the name of the other one. Arbiter. Yeah, the Arbiter. I tried using the Arbiter with this one, but instead of getting a positive attack speed, you get a negative attack speed with that. And the Ferocity does help you with damage, but it slows your attacks way down. When you hit hard, but you can't hit fast enough to make the stacks worthwhile. So this is why I recommend the Saganaris versus the Arbiter. And then again, The O'Malley's, you get a decent, the $20 attributes, that's across the board. So you get that too. You get 20 to ferocity, you get 20 to toughness, you get 20 to agility, and 20 to wisdom automatically off of that belt. So that's a huge boost as well. It's meant to be a farming belt because of the magic vine, but it actually has some really nice attack lines and can really help you out a lot. See if there's anything. No, there's not really anything that I missed. Overall, guys, I really had a lot of fun with it. I really had a lot of fun with this tune so far. It does actually need to have the upgrades, the gloves and the shoulders, which I mentioned. The gloves are Ogren's Hearth, and the shoulders are the Envoy of War. One thing I did want to mention with this tune overall, it's really good with the mob sets. I forgot to go over the skills, but I'm going to get to that here in just a second. One thing I forgot to mention though is where this one has a lot of problems is you can attack Shadow Souls one-on-one and not have too many issues. In a boss set though, what I'm talking about is at the end of the floor. You know, you have your 3-boss set or 2-boss set, whatever it may be. When it's Devourer and Shadow of Souls, this tune has a little bit of trouble because you can't make attacks fast enough and you can't apply bleeds fast enough, and then the shadow, while you're attacking one, the Shadow of Souls is getting you. The good thing about this is with that boss set is it's tanky enough that if you do get taken down by the Shadow of Souls, it's strong enough to survive it, and your dodge rate is pretty good. So you generally don't take a lot of damage. If you are going to take a lot of damage from that boss set, it's going to be from the Devourer. It's not so much going to be from the Shadow of Souls. Normally, every time I got taken down, when she popped back up, I could roll back out, go start attacking the Devourer again, and not have any issues. And then attack her one-on-one, maintaining some distance, and then when she would come up, I would make a charge and start doing my attacks again until I got her down. Alright, so that we don't leave nothing out, let's go ahead and go over the skills, because I should have covered that before I went into the gear, but I don't want to miss anything either. So for the skills, what I'm using, Wings of Ishmir. This is a really awesome skill for this guy for 2 reasons. I get increased flight speed. I can jump into a group really fast, but the biggest reason is I get a stun on impact. So I can jump in, stun the group, I can start attacking, and getting my damages, my toxins applied before they get a chance to attack me. That's huge, because as I'm applying it, all I gotta do is just keep going around the circle, or I can pick out the biggest threat in the group, take that down, and then everything else goes down pretty quick within a short amount of time. Sovereign Shout. What's huge about Sovereign Shout is that 25% cast speed. Well, that actually applies to you as an attack speed as well with this rogue build. Excuse me. So not only do you get an attack speed above what your current attack speed is, like minus 30%, you also get a 25% increase on that. So you're now at 55%, 75%. No. 30 and 25 is 55. So you're now at 55%. Sorry about that, guys. You're now at 55% attacking for the duration of the Sovereign Shout. Unfortunately, it has a 10-second cooldown, so sometimes it'll leave you high and dry. But as long as you're playing carefully, you can usually get by that. And there's other ways to get around it once you've actually built enough agility, your attack speed's good enough. Where that becomes really important is when you're at the end bosses, when you're using Slayer's Fury, and I'll get into Slayer's Fury as we go next here. Slayer's Fury, you're attacking at 55%, so you can do 3/4 damage to an end floor boss, and you have all your damages applied, and once you run out of rage, your attack speed is still strong enough to finish the boss off at the end. So it's a really good thing to have. And with the Sovereign Shout, I went with grants rage per hit. You can't never have too much rage, and if you're using Slayer's Fury, it burns up your rage real quick, and it white blocks you so that you have to convert back, and it makes it tough. So that's a really good thing to use. You can apply a lot of damage real quick. You can run around, then dash back in, start doing your attacks. You're converting your rage back, and it works really well. And then I also used grant bonus resistance per enemy hit by the shout. More resistance equates to toughness. Toughness equates to more damage. So I'm actually applying more damage by getting more all resist. Slayer's Fury. I love this one. This is a great elite killer. It's not something you want to use all the time. You want to be jumping in with Wings of Ishmir and doing your shout and doing your normal attacks. Bleeding Edge is a big one, and we'll get into that as well. Slayer's Fury is awesome for when you're fighting end of map bosses, or you need to burn through an elite quick and keep moving on. This allows you to attack with 2 blades, dealing single target damage. So you can pick a target, you can apply an amazing amount of damage super quick, and then move on to the next target. So you jump into the group with your Wings of Ishmir, you stun the group. If there's an elite in it, you can attack with, you can Sovereign Shout first, bonus to your attack speed, Slayer's Fury, knock out the elite real quick, and then deal with the rest of the group and keep on moving. And it's a pretty fast-paced play if you do it that way. And then part or all of the damage dealt to the target, dealt in an area around it. This is good because if there's 2 targets, it'll actually there's a bug in it. It'll actually damage 2 targets at one time. A lot of like when you run into the alpha at the end of a floor, and he has the 2 little yellow guys that spit the poison at you with him, you can actually kill both of those at the same time, even though Slayer's Fury is supposed to be a single target damage. Then increased damage, just because damage is good. The more damage we can do, the more toxin we can apply, the better it goes. That's really awesome. I did go with Mark of Impunity. Mark of Impunity is always good. When you can get it applied. I had a tough time to get it to apply, but the skills we set up with it were increased damage vulnerability, and Mark of Immunity spreads to its surrounding on death of the target. So if you're in a group and you get it on one, as soon as they're shot, then it spreads it around to the rest of the group. They'll all end up blowing up. Helps you move through the I want to call it a rift, but it's not really a rift in this game. But for lack of a better word, it helps you move through the rift faster because you can take down more enemies faster and keep moving. And then the last one, but is not the least one, Bleeding Edge. Throw a spinning axe in a circle around you, damaging and making those affected bleed. Well, we're applying a bleed, we're applying a toxin, and we're applying physical damage. So that's 3 different ways that we're attacking. And let me tell you, it works great. It works really awesome. You can jump in with Wings of Ishmir, you can apply the bleed, then you can apply the toxin, and then you just physically run around and finish off whatever didn't die. It works awesome. With Bleeding Edge, I went with Astral Orbit. Increased the area of effect. And I went with Shredding Edge, increased bleed chance. Well, the faster they bleed out, the faster the toxin works, the faster... I don't know if it's how it's actually applied, but it actually works really well. The two blend very well, and you do get a pretty good damage stack out of the whole thing. Alright, so that and then obviously your natural attack or your auto attack, which is your dual dagger strikes. That works just as good. Anyway, that pretty much covers everything. So just to recap kind of what we went over the gear, and we said that as we're gathering gear, we're going to stack agility on all that, so we have plenty of attack speed, and we're also looking for attack speed agility if we can find it. The higher we can get our attack speed, the better. In the weapons, we're going with material, and if there's a 3-socket out there, I haven't found it yet, but what I would do is 2 materials and attack speed critical chance in each, just to boost that attack speed critical chance just a little bit more. 17, if you can get it between 17 and 19, that's really good, and you're applying a lot of damage real fast. We went over the tree and how I laid out the tree. The tree's pretty simple. It's not really hard to follow. You know everybody's going to go to Praetorian because just pretty much everybody has to go to Praetorian anyway. And they go to Retaliator. The big ones for this build are the Assassin part of the tree here, the Poison stacks, the conversion 30 physical damage to toxic damage, and then the 25% poison chance score, and the soldier side where we're gaining all this toughness, which makes us tanky and allows us to have more damage. And then the attributes. We're stacking everything in toughness, and then our gear, everything we get for agility comes from our gear. And the skills, which we went over all the skills as well. So I'm going to show you a little bit of gameplay with it, and then once I get done with that, that'll be pretty much the end of the video. And hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you can make it work for you like I've had fun with it. Jump into a vet one so we can play fast. I'll talk through it a little bit. Okay, so I'll show you the playstyle that I like to play with it. Usually when I run out here I get a second lag. What I like to do is I like to jump in, apply the bleed real quick, and then I can attack everything. And as you see the green stuff on the ground, that's me applying the toxin, which works out really well. You can actually face tank devours. I wouldn't try it at the higher levels, but it actually works really well. A lot of the devourers and the one that does the machine gun attack and everything like that, I can't think of his name right at the moment. They can attack from behind. So in in normal rogue fashion, you would apply everything, attack from behind and all that stuff. But the alphas and the devourers and everything can attack from behind, and they'll actually move backwards and attack you. So you have to be careful when you're doing your attacks. You can face stuff straight up, but you just need to be careful on how you're doing it as you apply it. So one of the things I was talking to you about was the Slayer's Fury. Once we get to the next, once we get to the next elite, then I'll show you how that damage is just crazy. He does pretty good on just, here's a good one, we'll do it on a Devour. So there's the Slayer's damage there. You can just see how fast, and it's just crazy. Attack once, apply all the damages, apply your chances, and yeah, it's just a blast. It's a fun tune. You have to work with it a little bit. It takes a little while to figure out how to do the jumps and how to do all the other stuff. But if you give it the time, it's a really fun tune to play. I knew this soul was going to be quick here. But did you see when I only attacked him twice, and then I ran away, and you can see that he's still ticking off damage. Still ticking off damage, still ticking off damage. Now he's not ticking off damage. So you can actually go in, apply a few times. Well, if you can hit like the alpha, I can do a Slayer's Fury attack and take down alphas in seconds. Whereas you would normally have to spend a long time fighting an alpha and dodging and stuff like that. One of the things that I found out with the alphas as well is if you're directly underneath the alpha, they can't attack you. So if you you get underneath the alpha, unless he shoots his poison backwards, which I've had him do, they can't attack you from underneath, but you can attack them. But you can see from the Slayer's Fury how fast it burns up rage. But 90% of the time, if your attack speed's high enough, you can do that. You can convert it right back again without any issues. But anyway, guys, that's a little bit of the gameplay and how it works. Thanks so much for checking out the video. Please, if you like the video, please like and subscribe. And like I said, guys, this is my second video trying to develop some stuff for the wolcen community. If you have comments, please put them in there. Let's make the best builds that we can make, so when it does come online, we can have a lot of fun with it, and potentially come up with some OP builds. But please, if you do put comments in there, make sure that they're constructive. I don't need the negativity. I don't need people tearing me down. I'm not saying you can't make a bad comment. If you don't like the build, speak your mind. But if you're going to say something, please make it constructive, good or bad. Thank you so much, guys. Again, if you like the videos and you're enjoying it, please like and subscribe. And I hope you guys have a great day. I hope this tune works out really well for you. I've had a lot of fun with it so far. And make your comments down below so that I can make the build better, or we can revisit it and make it better down the line. You guys have a great day. Hope you have all the fun in the world gaming. Have a good day.